Hello, supporters of Let's Be Real podcast. Welcome to another of our episodes. Today it's the usual preview gang, myself and Jacob, and today we have a very important guest with us today. Today we have Rahul. He's a full-time football journalist and also a Villarreal supporter, as well as he has a soft spot for Arsenal as well. Welcome, Rahul. Thank you for joining us. How have you been? How's the week been?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. As Farouk just said, I'm a football journalist. I'm from London, but right now I'm based in Spain, and I've been covering Villarreal for a few years and been supporting them kind of as a second team for a few years, for probably about 7 or 8 years now. Like mainly an Arsenal fan, but yeah, I've been going to Villarreal games when I've been here as well, and yeah, they're a great club. Like we'll come on to that more in a bit, but yeah, I'm just a big fan.
Yeah, that's great to understand. I'm just wondering, Raul, can you just take us through your journey? Like, how did you eventually, develop your affection for the Yellow Submarines?
Well, it's a bit of a weird one. It's when La Liga was on Sky Sports, like English viewers will know this, where in about 2012, 2013, 2014, I started watching La Liga like every week and really enjoyed it. I've got a soft spot for technical footballers, and that's what really built my interest, just tuning in to seeing, well, obviously Messi, Ronaldo, like, but even just great teams like Bielsa's Athletic Club, like a strong Valencia team, strong Seville team. And then Villarreal just caught my fancy because I really like the yellow kit. It's just a weird reason like that. So then I started tuning in. They played really nice football. At the time, they had players like Bruno Soriano, Luciano Vieto, even, like, just really technical, like, lovely players to watch. And I just started watching them every week and eventually just became a bit of a fan, yeah.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, honestly, because I do also remember, like, when I first started watching football, when I was much more younger, like, I do remember, I don't know if maybe you might, because of your affection for Arsenal as well, you might remember, there was a Villarreal Arsenal game, the games of the, Roman Riquelme, Marcos Siena, just to name a few, like, it was a proper, show of technical football, honestly, so that, when you mentioned this just what came to my mind. Jacob, do you have any fond memories of, the Yellow Submarines?
Oh yeah. So my earliest memory of the Relay Submarines was watching a documentary on Manu Trigueros, his story on how he was a
Yeah.
teacher and how he got into football, and he still goes back and visits some of his students in his former school. So that's such a heartwarming story, and that's how I got into a bit of Villarreal. And since then, I did follow Manu Trigueros' career for a bit, and he was one of my favorite players to sign on in FIFA as well. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's
he
it.
was one of the few that I mentioned. I was like, yeah, I really like watching him. Like on his best day a few years ago, like he was just brilliant. Like so technical, so smart, and really great vision. Just it's the kind of midfielder I like watching.
Yeah, those were the peak days of submarines, and we come now to this current period in time. Villarreal currently lies, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 13th in the league, with 8 defeats from 16 games. However, on the other hand, in the Europa League, they're actually flying high, and if they win their game tonight, they actually go directly through to the round of 16 in the secondary competition of Europe. I don't know, Raul, like what's going on with Villarreal this season? Can you just give us a brief summary of what's the case has been with them this year?
Well, so it was a mess from minute one, really, this season. So in the transfer window, they lost Pau Torres to Aston Villa. They lost Nicholas Jackson, who went to Chelsea, like a few other players, and then received something like 100 million, like net profit, and then barely spent that back on the team. So received something like 38 million for Jackson, and then spent 8 million to bring in Alex Sorloth as a replacement, who I think is better. But overall, the defense is now shocking. Like Pau Torres was the best defender at Villarreal. It was one of the best defenders Villarreal had, and then losing him and then barely replacing him has been a disaster. And failing to sign a goalkeeper, so they let Geronimo Rulli go last January, and now have Jorgensen, who came through the youth academies, very hit and miss, or 40-year-old Peperena in goal. So just the defensive deficiencies are really hitting them hard. At the start of the season, Kike Setien was in charge. 4 games in, he got sacked. And some people thought it was harsh because Villarreal really improved towards the end of last season, and he'd been screwed over in the transfer market. But like the reports I heard were that he had fallen out with a bunch of senior players. Like the players were really unhappy in training, and then ultimately player power took over. Then they hired Pacheta, who was sacked from Real Valladolid last season, in what I thought was a very, very uninspiring move. They were linked with Raul from Real Madrid, the former striker who's now Castilla coach, and he nearly went, but then they went for Pacheta. He lasted something like 15, 16 games, like in all competitions, if that. And the fans there at the stadium did not take to them from minute one. The football went even worse. It was such a dull style of play. The results weren't there. And then, yeah, they eventually sacked him a few weeks ago and then brought back Marcelino, who's, yeah, pretty much Villarreal legend, who left the club about 7 years ago. Like, it was a bit of contentious circumstance. He fell out with the ownership. And for years, every time Villarreal hired a manager, it's been, shall they bring him back? Shall they bring him back? And now they have, which was the most exciting part of this season. And so it is a mess. It's still going to be a mess it's going to take him a long time to fix the team. Like this season is pretty much a write-off. But like just having him back was the high point of the season.
Yeah, you actually mentioned that, like as you said, like the season is, it's almost looking like a write-off here. So I'm just gonna go to you, Jacob. Like, do you think, Villarreal actually have a chance of being, dragged into the relegation battle? Because right now they're just 6 points, above the relegation zone.
So I got asked this when Pacheta was in charge and the team looked just completely shot of confidence. And I said there could be danger. After 10 games this season, Villarreal had a worse record than after 10 games in the 11-12 season when they actually did get relegated. And yeah, I wrote about this. I said it could get ugly. But now Marcelino's back, I'm confident it won't be relegation. Whether they come top 10, it all depends on kind of what they do in January, how the injuries, because there's also been a lot of injuries as well. But yeah, I'm confident now that they won't be sucked into the battle just because Marcelino's back and there's already been just an improvement in the overall play.
Like, and just looking at, I was just wondering, does Villarreal have what it takes to actually crack it into European places? But then, if you just look at Girona and what Athletic Club and La Real are doing, I think it's a very long shot to actually go for the Europa places. But a top 10 is like really doable, man. Just considering the quality of the rest of the teams in the bottom half of the table.
Yeah, if you look at Girona, they're inspiring everyone. They're flying at the top of the league. That's what teams like Villarreal, like Seville, who have also been poor this season, should be looking at doing, kind of challenging the top two, making smart signings. Girona's record signing is 7 million euros or something. And it's something that a lot of these bigger clubs could do, and they're not doing it. If Villarreal can make Europe, I just said, yeah, maybe not top 10, so probably not Europe. But you never know, because in the last few seasons, so the season before Emery joined and last season as well, halfway through the season, no one would have backed Villarreal for Europe. And then they went on a run and got fifth place both times. And so who knows if smart signings are made in January and if they stay kind of within 7 or 8 points, you never know, but I wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah, that's the thing, just it's you're here and there, you just find yourself on a winning streak of 3, 4, 5 games, and all of a sudden, you find yourself bumped on the table, especially, with the whole change in the European competition places. I think up to 7, 8 teams actually can qualify for Europe next year. So, if Villarreal can, give it a crack at the top 10, then why not, maybe not Europa League, but at least, the European Conference League as well. And let's not forget, as we mentioned, they're still in the Europa League, and you never can tell, man. Miracles can live on, and we can find Villarreal, in the final once again. But yeah, anyways, that's still a long time ago, a long time to go. Yeah. So I'm just gonna pose this against you, Rahul. Like, it's about the attackers that you currently have. We have Diaz. We have the fake Haaland, as we like to call him, Alex Solot. With 6 goals, and then we have Morales with 4 goals, and then we have the everlasting, let's say the captain without the armband. Gerard Moreno with 8 goals. I think he's just behind only I think what's he called, Jude Bellingham in amount of goals scored in the league. So what's the case with your attackers, man? Because just before we went live, I was talking to you about the whole issue at the Sociedad, which was head scratching, where you have 16 chances created, 20 shots on target, an expected goal of more than 2.5, and you come out of there with 0 goals, and you basically lose the match 3-0 at home. I don't know, like I haven't seen a lot of Villarreal games. So you tell me like this season has been more of bad defending or poor finishing, but then the stats of the attackers kind of make me wonder that it's not necessarily poor finishing, but rather something else. I don't know what's going on there.
Well, I think the game against LaReal was an outlier in that sense. Like before Marcelino came in, the only quality in the team was up front. Like the midfield was completely not performing, and the defense was, to put it lightly, just shambles. But up front, when it was Sorloth and Gerard Moreno together, that was when the quality was there, and that's the only way Villarreal even stayed competitive within games. Like there was a game, so the game I went to, Villarreal 2, Athletic Club 3, that was Pachetta's final game, I believe, or final La Liga game at least. And yeah, Villarreal went 3-0 down quite quickly, and it was no signs of life. Like the stadium was booing, and then Gerard Moreno and Sorloth both scored within a minute to kind of pull 2 back, and that just summed it up at the time. I said, like, yeah, those 2 can go and score, but when they're surrounded by the rest of the team, they're not going to accomplish anything. And then Sorloth picked up an injury just before Marcelino came in, when Villarreal lost Atletico Madrid away, and that was a big blow because he's been really, really good. And Gerard Moreno is Gerard Moreno. He's a Villarreal legend. Like, he's a brilliant, brilliant player. And so having both up front, like Sorloth just returned today in the Europa League, he's playing right now. Having both up front is big. It could be the difference between Villarreal coming top 6 and coming bottom 5. Like, that is where the quality is right now. And when you mentioned Ben Brereton Diaz, he's someone I like, but he hasn't really been given a chance yet. And before Marcelino came in, he was just not getting a look in. Like, youth players were coming on ahead of him. He was an unused substitute for most of his games. And there was even talk about loaning him out in January. But now he's been getting a bit more time off the bench. Against Sevilla a couple of weeks ago, he actually scored in the 95th minute. And I don't know if you've seen this, but it got disallowed for, it was a ridiculous refereeing decision where they claimed he fouled with the Sevilla defender in the build-up. And he's someone I'd like to see him more game time, but it's tough when you've got other quality strikers, because even Morales pre-Marcelino, he was disappointing. He came from Levante with a big reputation, like a veteran striker, like he was brilliant at Levante. And until the last kind of few weeks, he's not really delivered. But I think he scored something like 7 goals under Marcelino. He scored twice in the Copa del Rey. He scored a hat-trick in... Yeah, I think he scored a hat-trick. Like, I can't even remember off the top of my head, but he scored in most of the games that Marcelino has been in charge while Sorloth been out. And so that'll be a big thing. Like, will he drop to the bench? Will Sorloth come straight back in? But the fact that Sorloth's starting tonight means he's probably straight back in. But yeah, so if you look at Villarreal's team right now, the quality is going forward is not at the back.
Yeah, that's actually true. The quality going forward is it's all there. So I don't know, Jacob. Like, let's talk about as Rahul mentioned, the legend of Villarreal, like Gerard Moreno. I don't know how highly do you rate him. Like, would you have rather seen Real Madrid go for a striker like Gerard Moreno instead of Joselu that we currently have?
Man, that would be cruel, and just a waste of Moreno's talent, just sitting on the bench until Rodrigo needs a rest. I feel like he deserves to play week in, week out, and we La Liga fans in general should be able to like watch him because of course he's getting on in years, and I feel like he should be playing every minute possible. And so I feel like as a sub, he would be amazing for Real Madrid, but I don't feel like we should be doing it.
That's a very, very fair point. That's a very fair point, honestly. So Raul, like what's been the, as you mentioned, honestly, like for me, I was always a fan of Pau Torres. I really wanted Real Madrid to get him, especially after the departure of Sergio Ramos. I really, really, hoped that we could get, Pau into our team, and he moved to England and joined Aston Villa, and we can see what the two former submarines are doing, in combination of Unai Emery and Pau Torres are currently flying very high. Both in England and in Europe as well. So how has it been? Because I know, as I mentioned, how important a player like Pau Torres has been. So basically, what you're saying now is that the only functional part of the team has always been the attack before the return of Marcelino. So what's the defense look like? Because even I think like the midfield also is not bad, because you have Alex Baena there with I think 5 or 6 assists in the league this year, something like that. It's not just all doom across the midfield, but the defense is what I'm not really sure about. And you mentioned, Jorgensen as well in post, and a 40-year-old Pepe Reina as well. So how's that been as well? Like, is it been a school of comedic errors or just being unlucky there?
It's a lot of errors there. So the options are Raul Albiol, who has been brilliant for Villarreal over the years, and he's not the one I want to dig out, but he's I think 39 now, and he's clearly losing his legs. Like, put it this way, next season he cannot be a starter. And then on the left side of the fence to replace Pau Torres, they signed Matteo Gabbia on loan from AC Milan, and he's been very underwhelming. And AC Milan want to bring him back in January. I think they've got a defensive injury crisis, so he's not someone that Villarreal can count on. There's Jorge Cuenca, who's from the youth team. He was on loan at Getafe a few years ago. He did all right. And he's been very hit and miss. At times he's been good, at times he's really not. And against Real Sociedad, he was terrible. And then there's Issa Mandy, who, apart from one purple patch, he's again, just been very underwhelming at Villarreal. And so there's not a lot of options in central defence. Like, one thing Villarreal might do is move Juan Foyth to the centre and bring in a right back. They've been linked with Cedric Suarez of Arsenal in the January window. But at the back, it's just no matter what kind of Marcelino's come in, he's someone who values the defence. He would play a 4-4-2 to protect the defence. But he's realised, I think, that when you're chucking in a goal a game, it's going to be tough to do. Like, a manager can set up his team whatever way he wants. Then, if you see the errors against Real Sociedad, it's just a nightmare.
I totally, agree with that, and especially you mentioned, Juan Foyth. Foyth is actually a player that I actually have rated very highly, even during his days, in England, although he didn't get a lot of chances there as well. Because I feel like, he's a player that, although he might not be the, best player, like, I mean, the most technical player is a player that, wingers hate to play against, because I remember, his battles with Vinicius Junior, and I remember how difficult it was for Vini, to deal with Foyth. But I feel like Foyth is one of the players that, should get a lot more praise than they currently get. But I'll just, let's get gradually towards the game. And interestingly, actually, I always, in my mind, I always place Villarreal as one of these boogie teams that I never want to face as a Real Madrid fan, because like all my life, like playing against Villarreal, even if we win against Villarreal, like, with a high score margin, you can get bet that every single goal was like gotten by blood and sweat. And I was, even in our group chat, we were talking, before, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, like, and I was mentioning, like, even if Villarreal is in the 4th division, we just playing them is always going to be, a headache there. That's just the thing, like, and it's even proven, like, Real Madrid haven't won against Villarreal in the last 4 league meetings, actually. The last victory we have against Villarreal actually was in the Copa del Rey, the 2-3 game. I think you can remember the whole game where Dani Ceballos basically became a mini legend for a short period of time. So that's the last game we've had. Well, before we actually even go towards the game, like, the whole Alex Baena and Federico Valverde situation was also, something really, really interesting to see, because for us Real Madrid fans, everything that was related to that situation was nothing we have seen of Valverde before. Because like they will say Vini did this, I will agree. They will tell me Rodrigo did this, I will agree. They will tell me maybe even Toni Kroos, I would agree, because like Fede Valverde was just someone who just loved the sport and just wants to play football. So when this rumors came about, okay, someone said this, someone did this, someone did that, there was a physical altercation and all that. It was really, really difficult. I don't know, maybe if you can just give us, a perspective from the Villarreal, point of view, and what was it like for you guys?
It was a strange one at the time because all these conflicting reports were coming out of who did what, who started it. And honestly, as a journalist, I don't want to say anything that'll get me into legal trouble. But yeah, so I don't want to say too much on it. But what I will say about Alex Baena is that he's a very talented young player, but he has a bit of a temper problem. Like, it's not like that was an outlier for him in a way. It was, okay, he hasn't gone and punched anyone since, but there's a lot of times during a game where you'd think he's getting a bit of trouble, he's getting a bit of argument with like the other players, with the referee. At times he does it when he's on a yellow card and you're thinking, do not get yourself sent off. And it's something he needs to learn if he wants to make it a top level. I do think he's got potential to really be the top player. And I think Aston Villa want him as well from what I've seen. Like Unai Emery's clearly trying to poach everyone from Villarreal, but and yeah, he does have the talent for it, but it's something he needs to cut out of his game. And yeah, like without mentioning too much about the Valverde case, yeah, I can see. Like, you say Valverde's not that kind of player. I'm like, yeah, I probably agree, but and it is in a way. So it was just a mess, and mess for both teams, both fan bases, both clubs.
Yeah, Jacob. So I know for you, unlike Rahul, you don't have to care about the legalities. So just go on, man. It's free reign, man. It's a free pass.
To this day, I still don't know what exactly happened, but I truly believe, as a fan, just hearing all of the news, there's no smoke without fire, right? And so I really believe there was some physical altercation in the stadium or the dugout, and I don't know what was said and who started it, but I'm definitely sure, tempers are, if Baena is going to be playing, tempers are going to rise, and I don't know what the reaction will be from Valverde.
Oh yeah, I think. Well, for a start, I think he will play, and then the crowd will be booing every touch. But yeah, I think it is a weird one. Like, as you say, no one really knows what happened. But yeah, it's where I feel like tempers flare a lot when kind of Villarreal and Real Madrid play each other. And put it this way, if what they're accusing Bayern of, like what he said to Valverde and stuff, it wouldn't surprise me if it was true. Like, he's someone who really tries to get in the head of the opposition. He tries to like wind them up, and it's not something I really rate in a way. And he's a very talented player. He doesn't need to be doing that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, Alex Baena is really quite, an interesting player, and I wouldn't be surprised, if he goes on to the Premier League and does wonderful things as well, So, yeah, it's already a game that already has, a lot of history in there. So, this is just going to be a subplot. It's going to be Fede Valverde against Alex Baena, especially when they play almost in the same spaces, and they will come up against each other a lot. So it's one matchup to keep an eye on. And Jacob, I'll just come to you, to gradually shift towards the Real Madrid side of things. Basically, we know half of our team is basically friends with the specialists right now, or doctors or whatever they are. So is there any update on that front? I think Arda Güler is supposed to be close to getting back or something like that, or am I wrong?
And this whole month, it's been the Real Madrid camp have been letting out, Arda Güler started put his foot on the grass, he started touch the ball, and those are the kinds of updates that you get. But for sure, he hasn't started training with the team yet fully, so he's not going to be back. Tchouaméni actually had a group session, so that was very surprising. I wasn't expecting him to be back so soon, but I think Villarreal is probably still too early for him. But the next game after that, let's see. It's Las Palmas, or who are we facing?
It's Alaves.
Alaves, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I expect Tchouaméni to come back. The rest of the guys, they're still in the hospital, Camavinga and whatnot.
Okay, they're still where they are. Okay, that's quite interesting. As you mentioned about Tchouaméni, I think that's a really good. It's a refreshing feedback. But I also totally agree with you in the sense that I feel like it's too early. I will actually say it's too early to actually play him this year. Just let it be next year, because after the game against Alaves, we don't play against this year until next year. So,
but did you actually catch his Instagram post? Like, he was posing with his 6 packs and abs and whatnot. He said he's like totally ready to.
Yeah,
come
I
back into
forgot the
it.
caption, but it was an interesting caption.
Yeah,
I saw
something
that.
along the
I
lines
think it
of
was,
yeah, all the hard work has been paying off, and he's totally ready after like spending time in the lab.
in the lab, exactly. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that word of time in the lab. I remember that phrase very well. So that's why actually I was this about that. But yeah, it's interesting. Actually we were just talking with Jacob actually Rahul, before you came on about the fact that basically like I was just saying to him like everyone I know right now has the flu because Jacob was saying he was sick earlier last week. I was also a bit sick with the flu as well, and he was saying it's just like footballers these days. It's just touch and go with everyone. So why do you think it's so? Because I mean, we've been watching football for the better parts of the last decade, or maybe even 2 decades, and this is the first time where we are able to look at almost every team and point to 5, 6, 7 players, who have significant injuries. Like, what do you think has changed, like for football? Is it like the players become more fragile, or is football becoming too demanding?
Well, one obvious thing I think is the fact that there's so many more games nowadays. We had a World Cup in the winter last year, and then league football resumed a week later. And then it was a long year of football last year. Then everyone went away on pre-season. They flew halfway across the world for pre-season tours. And then just in pre-season alone, look how many players got injured, like Militao, Courtois, probably a few off the top of my head I can't even think of, but there's so many absentees right now just at any club. Villarreal have Jeremy Pina out with an ACL. He's out to the end of the season. Pedraza's out right now. I'm not sure how long he's out for. And yeah, like throughout the whole season, like Gerald Moreno's he's been injury prone for years, but he's been on and off. Sorlot's been on and off. Real Madrid right now is mental. Arda Güler's never going to be seen, I don't think. And yeah, Courtois out, Militao out for the whole season. It was a tough start for Real Madrid to kind of have to deal with all of that. And yeah, one thing I would point to is fixture congestion. It could even get worse next year with the new Champions League reforms, where it will be 8 group games instead of 6, I believe, and then potentially even more, another 2-legged playoff for the knockout round. So it's potentially 4 or 5 extra games a season for Champions League clubs. You
Rahul,
also
sorry,
have
I don't want to interrupt you, but I just want to play the devil's advocate here and just pose this to you, because if you remember, like actually I think a month back or 2 months back, like Mikel Arteta actually was asked about Bukayo Saka, who basically is a man who's always available, and his reply was that Messi and Ronaldo and even Zlatan, Wayne Rooney, just those guys played 60 games a season every season for 10 straight years. And how injured were they? Until Zlatan came to United, like he did not have any significant injury. I think until 2018 or was it 2017? I can't remember. Like Messi did not have any significant injury, But right now we look at this, and players like Vinicius Junior actually have played just 50 games a season. You look at that, like players like Pedri. Okay, like maybe Pedri's case is a bit extreme because I think I remember there was a season where he played around 70 games or something like that. But like I'm just trying to play the devil's advocate. I understand what you're saying, but like this is not new. Like although the numbers of games are gradually increasing, these players actually haven't played that much as we've seen. Players. I mean, come on, we remember like Ramos and Pepe were playing every single game. Like we don't even like there was only unavailability or suspension, nothing like it. And as I mentioned with Cristiano and Messi, and so like it's like something has changed in the game. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I just kind of want to interrupt you and just put this out there as well.
no. I rate that point. When it comes to Cristiano Ronaldo and his fitness, I think he's someone who can't really be compared to anyone else. Just the way he kept his body in tone, the way he would train, and obviously the way he'd play as well. He was the exception to the norm rather than the norm, that he could play 60 games a season and play at a high level in each different one, play 90 minutes, never be subbed off. In general, right now, is when you mentioned Arteta and Bukayo Saka, and that's something that I'm always at war with Arteta with in a way, because he plays him in every single game when he can. And so far, he's been really lucky. Like Saka's played, he played in like 90 Premier League games in a row. He set a new club record at Arsenal, and he missed, I think, he missed the win over Manchester City this season. That was the first game he's missed in a very long time. He's been fit throughout, even though he's been playing so much. So I think some players just do respond well to playing a lot of football and keeping that rhythm. And that's why even the other day, Arsenal already qualified against PSV, and he brought on Declan Rice, and he played William Saliba when Arsenal fans were screaming at him to rest them. And I've been reading about it. Like, I think a lot of people say there's a lot to be gained in conditioning by keeping him playing regularly. But in terms of the increased injuries, that's a weird one because I wouldn't say the game's more physical now than it was 10 years ago. Like, I feel like it's maybe quicker. Like, I'd have to go back and start watching full games 10 years ago to really kind of judge that. But yeah, it is an odd one. Maybe they're just training too much, or maybe it probably depends coach to coach, club to club. Like, if you look at Crystal Palace right now, random one, I know, but they've had 30 muscle injuries since April. And since Roy Hodgson, he's a very old school manager, old school methods. He's come in and just is whipping them in training.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
the
not
Palace
going well.
boys are made of glass, man. Come on, Palace guys. I mean, it's Olise, and even when Zaha was there as well, it's Olise, and it's what's the name of the Nigerian guy? I forgot. Anyways, like they're all made of glass, man. Honestly, because you look at Ayew, like Ayew was there, like I never heard Ayew got injured, But you look at this, this British boys, it's Olise, and there was
Eze, yeah,
exactly, and Eze, it's Olise, it's Eze, it's Conor Edouard, and those guys basically are made of glass, man. Honestly, like they're always out, and anyways, that's a discussion for it. But I totally get your point. It's really difficult, to just point a finger at what's changed or what's not changed in the game. But let's gradually, move towards the game and discuss about what we're looking to see. But if I'm not mistaken, Marcelino plays a flat 4-4-2, as you're saying, to give some defensive cover to the back line. So, what are you predicting the lineup to look like for Sunday?
I think it'll be similar to what it is right now. I mean, given the injuries in the squad, given like Marcelino wants to gain continuity, he wants good performances he wants the team to gain rhythm. So I don't think he's going to be chopping and changing it too much in these early stages. Francis Coquelin's back from injury. He's been out with, I think it was an ACL, but I can't see him starting, which is a shame because my problem with this midfield, Etienne Capoue and Dani Parejo, is that they are two players who were unbelievable for Villarreal in the Europa League and the Champions League 2 seasons ago. They're both very old now, and they both don't have the legs to they don't have the engine to play midfield together anymore. It's very easily bypassed. Any bit of pace, any quick player, and they're out the game. And I think it will be those two again. So I think Rodrigo, and if he plays Vinicius, it's not going to go well for Villarreal in that sense. So I think it will be Jorgensen in goal. Like, he's the first choice over Reina. Reina's playing tonight. Before he's at right back, he's had his injury problems, but he is Villarreal's best defender. He's a very good player. The Albiol back at the Bernabeu, like former Real Madrid player. He'll probably be Gabia. It's between Gabia and Cuenca, and neither of them impressed me enough to say one over the other, really. But Cuenca's left-footed, so he might go just for that balance. So he might go Cuenca. Like, Gabia's playing tonight, so he'll be fully rested. And at left back, Pedraza's injured. He could go with Alberto Moreno, who he's quick, but we all know what he's like. He's got an error in him. But he may go with him. He may even push him further forward. But if not, it could be Adria Aldemira. So he's come through the youth academy this season. He's looked fairly good. He's normally a right back, but he's been playing left back in the last couple of weeks. And then it'll be a flat 4-4-2. Parejo and Capoue in the middle. Alex Bayen on the left wing. Right wing is where there could be. He could either put Gerard Moreno there. He's been good there before, but perhaps in a more advanced role. Or he could put Alcomash, who joined from Barcelona this summer. Young player, like, it's too early to kind of call how he's going to do, but he's quick. He's got a bit of skill. He's been doing all right. It's nice to see him getting a chance. I think it will be him. And then up front, I think it will be Sorloth. And if he's not on the wing, Gerard Moreno. The only question is if Morales comes back in for Sorloth or Moreno, but like, given he's not playing tonight and given he's been scoring a lot, but throughout the season, that will be the kind of front two. And from now until January, that will be the team, really. Like, in January, I'd like to see midfielder come in as priority. Goalkeeper, not sure if that'll happen, but I'd like to see one come in. And the centre back should be the priority, as well as centre mid. You should need more legs in that midfield and in the middle. But yeah, that will be the team. It'll be flat 4-4-2, and similar to what we're seeing tonight. And Villarreal currently drawing 1-1 with Rennes.
Yeah, that's going to be quite interesting to play against, especially with teams with two strikers. So Jacob, what's going to be your counter to this? Like, what's the lineup you're expecting to see on Sunday?
And for us, two strikers, and some of these days I hear from that you don't seem to find our team very interesting, when they play.
I mean, eventually, it's an entertainment business, man. If we don't get entertained, we just flip the channel and find something that's more interesting.
Fair enough. Yeah, well, gonna be a standard lineup. So for me, I feel like we're gonna see most of the starters from the Union Berlin game, because anyway in that game we didn't rest a lot of starters, but Carlo Ancelotti actually gave Cruz and Valverde some rest. He just played them for 45 minutes each. I fully expect them to completely start again and finish the whole 90 for this game. Maybe Luka Modric comes in instead of Ceballos. So yeah, Rodrigo and Joselu up top. Brahim, I'm not sure if he starts today. Not sure. So I want to ask you, Rahul, like, do you guys feel like your backline struggles with aerial threats? So would you rather like face off against Brahim or like Joselu?
I think the main problem for Villarreal is defending against pace, just because there's no pace in that back line. Like in the middle, in the air, Raul Albiol can battle with anyone. Like with Joselu, it'll be interesting to see kind of who gets the battle of that. But for this one, I'd rather face Joselu, not because of what he is as a player, like no disrespect to him, but just stylistically. Yeah, I'd rather Albiol faces a target man, a kind of physical aerial battle, rather than Rodrigo, Brahim, a speedy player who could just run past him. Like it's kind of like playing FIFA really with Villarreal. It's just run at them and you'll probably have good luck scoring. Like that's why it has to be a priority for Villarreal to just add some legs in there.
Absolutely. So, if Carlo actually does a decent scouting report on Villarreal, he's probably going to start Brahim. So that's going to be my lineup. Modric, Cruz, Valverde in midfield. Maybe Modric misses out. I'm not sure. If Bellingham has to start and Brahim has to start. I'm not sure if Modric gets the start here, because he did play the full 90 at Union Berlin as well. Almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the back line, we basically have no other options, man. We have to play Lucas Vazquez on the right back. Militao, Rudiger and Alaba, they regain their starting position. I feel like Nacho has got to sit the bench again. And obviously it's going to be Mendy at the left back. You know what's going to be interesting though? The goalkeeper position. Like, I feel like this discussion we've been having for the last 3-4 weeks, but Farooq, what do you think, man? Who's going to start in goalkeeping?
I don't know, man. I think it's gonna be Lunin, but I'm not too sure because I think it's looking like, I don't know, but it's just one sample size as well. It's not a very large thing to make a conclusion upon. But it might be looking like Kepa might be the cup keeper and Lunin might be the league keeper. This might be the routes that they choose to go through. But I'm not too sure about this, honestly. I don't know, man, Jacob. It's something that I really don't like. Again, I will go back to Arteta because he kind of seems to become someone that actually, says a lot of things that I either agree or disagree with. So, like, the whole issue of having two keepers and deciding on match day, I don't really like that, honestly. So I really prefer to have a permanent keeper. But let's wait and see, man. I think only time will tell what they're looking to do, with the two keepers. But I'll ask you, Jacob, like, do we have any comments? I know Ashik is there itching to tell me that Joselu nearly got the hat trick during the week. Unfortunately, nearly is not enough.
Yeah. So again, he predicts Farooq Joselu hat trick. Get ready. So we have actually a bunch of comments actually. Though. Want to get through all of them?
So Rahul, like there is a thing going on with Ashik. So Ashik is one of our regulars actually. So he predicted the Joselu hat trick, and I was like, never in our lifetime is Joselu gonna get a hat trick in the Real jersey. So the point is, if that happened, I have to get him a jersey as a in return.
Trade, yeah.
I mean, the point is, if Joselu scores a hat trick, then it's a good day for us. So I mean, it's a small price to pay for that. So if that happens, then I have to get a jersey. But it's fine if that happens. It happens. Otherwise, so I don't know if you know, but actually, Joselu got 2 goals, I think, in the 68th minute, and He could have gotten a third, but unfortunately, he never did get. He never did get the third one. So every week, Ashik is always here, predicting the 3 goals from Musiala coming in. Yeah, Jacob. Any other important, or rather something more?
Yeah, I mean, all of these guys. So Metro TV, Ajay Makwana, Chabada Mlogata, all of these guys, Rajat as well, constantly in the chat. Just reading maybe just the specifically Villarreal questions. So Chabada Mlogata says, Juan Roman Riquelme era was absolute fire. Them clashes against Arsene Wenger's Arsenal. Wow. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that
Well,
was.
as an Arsenal fan, I was a bit delighted. Well, I was young at the time, but Riquelme is someone who, yeah, I didn't see him in his prime, but I've seen so many clips. He's like part of the reason I got into Villarreal is because, as I said, I like technical footballers, and so my favourite players, like if I go through the history, like they're all kind of number 10s, very technical. Kaká, Özil, Riquelme, Bergkamp, like those kind of players, and like at Boca Juniors, a lot of them even say he's the kind of biggest legend out, like even bigger than Maradona in terms of what they did at Boca. Obviously Maradona's, but yeah, he's that good. He's a legend, like at Villarreal and at Boca, and he's someone who's just brilliant.
And Jabara also says we're gonna see the dark arts in the weekend, because just like how Aguero told Felipe Luis, to badmouth Di Maria's wife, we can expect to see some similar stuff from Bain and Valverde. But yeah, all eyes will be them on the weekend.
Yeah, I saw those. I saw that about Guerrero, and honestly, I don't know if kind of people agree with me, but since he's retired, I think he's just become a real. I don't want to swear on here, but he's become such a horrible person. Like the whole thing with Camavinga, that like it's really kind of he's an amazing player to watch over the years. Like really, like one of the best in Premier League history, but yeah, not a great bloke.
For me, even like him holding up the World Cup, even though he wasn't in the squad, even that left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all. But then the people on the pitch at the time, like Salt Bay was there holding it, and I'm thinking, what the hell has gone on here?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
last one. There's one more comment for you, Farooq. So Jabbar asks, what's up with Carlos' love and hate relationship with Brahim Diaz? Why didn't he actually get some minutes against Union Berlin?
So he can play against Villarreal at the at the Bernabeu. I'm thinking, I don't know. Honestly, it's weird, And the last person you should ask about Carlos' decisions or lack thereof. I am the last person to be asked about this, honestly. But anyways, let's not take too much of Raul's this time as well, because I think he has some things to get to just afterwards. I think if we don't have anything more to talk about, we can just go to the predictions. And Raul, we just, as the guests, let's be polite and take your predictions first.
The optimist in me says 1-1. In reality, I think 3-1 Real Madrid. Like the Atletico, so when Villarreal played away at Atletico just before Marcelo came in, that was probably their best performance of the season. And they won 1-0 up, had a couple of chances, but then the quality of Atletico basically shone through. And I can see similar happening. I think Villarreal they'll give it a good fight. I think under Marcelo, there's definitely been improvements, but it's at the Bernabeu. Like even given Villarreal's recent record against them, it's still. I'm not that optimistic, but you never know. You really never know. But I think 1-1 optimist, 3-1 realist.
Yeah, Jacob, what have you got? Have you also got an optimist and a realist prediction for us?
I mean, I'm just gonna be an optimist. As always, so I'm gonna predict a 2-0. Rodrigo scoring both the goals, because I feel like even though he didn't score last game, he's like looking really sharp. He's probably like the most informed player for us right now, even over Bellingham.
That's very true. Actually, I think he's the most informed player in the whole of Spain, actually, because I think he has, is it 8 goals contribution or 9 goals contribution in the last 4 games, something like this. Like, there's such a number like floating around, and actually he's in his best form of his Real Madrid career right now. So I will also go with you, Jacob, but I will go rather with a narrow 1-0 victory, and I think Rodrigo gets the goal in that situation, because I do believe the Villarreal game is a game that has a lot of history and has a lot of hostility in there. So I just still feel that it's gonna be really difficult to overcome that. So, but we need a reaction, after the draw at the at Real Betis. So we at the Villa Marine last weekend, we really need that reaction. Otherwise Girona is gonna start running away with this. So before we go, just a quick
we do
question
have
to
one more prediction from Ashik. So he says it's going to be
yeah
6-1 for Real Madrid. Fede Valverde with 3 goals, Joselu with 3 goals, and the 1 goal for Villarreal actually comes from a Rudiger own goal.
Oh, okay. That's quite interesting, Ashik. I have no comments on this, but yeah, let's hoping for for a very good weekend. But yeah, before we go, Raul, let's just pose you the last question, and we can call it a day. Girona, baby Man City, basically. Title contenders or title pretenders?
Until this weekend, I'd have said could come top 4. There'll be top 4 contenders by the end of the season, maybe come top 4, top 5. That win over Barcelona tells me they'll probably come top 4. That was brilliant. And people kept writing Leicester off. At this stage of Leicester, when they won the Premier League, it was they won't keep doing it. They won't. So you never know. Like Girona have got quality. They're playing so well. They've only lost 1 game, and that they were unlucky against Real Madrid, I thought. And if they again, look, people call them City Junior. I think it's obviously they're owned. Well, they're part owned by the same ownership group and everything, but their record signing is 7 million euros. It's not like City have come in and pumped loads of money in, and who knows if they can, for a start, or will do in January to maybe push them up a bit. But I can see them, coming top 4 title. I don't want to say it in jinx them, so I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I totally get you. But then, anyways, it's quite refreshing, for Spanish football, to have such a story here and there, and it's really brilliant, as you mentioned, with a team that has a maximum, the highest signing being, 7 million euros it's quite phenomenal. And as you just mentioned, honestly, it's not about the fact of where they are in the table. It's so that you watch Girona and like you feel like, wow, this is the reason why I love the sport. They make you, obviously, we're Real Madrid fans. Obviously, we want Real Madrid to win first, but if I'm not winning, I have no issues with Girona winning. That's just it.
They're playing brilliant football. It's quick. They can find goals out of nowhere. They pass the ball so well. And the manager, Mikel, however you pronounce it, like the substitutions he's made, like he can just turn the game on its head. Like when they were really struggling against Valencia a few weeks ago. They were 1-0 down until the 83rd, 84th minute. Stuani comes on and they win 2-1. Like it's just they've got a lot in their locker. They are plucky underdogs, but they've got a lot to them as a team. They are just a very, very good team. And they've been a complete breath of fresh air in La Liga.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a very interesting season, but then. Yeah, as we know, the league titles are not won or lost in December. Rather, they are won and lost, at the turn of the year. I actually feel like February is the month that people actually lose titles. They don't win titles in February, but they actually lose titles in Feb. So let's, this discussion will be more interesting to have after Feb, hopefully. So now, Rahul, once again, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure, and we're so grateful to you have someone with such a profile as yours on our pod. We're so grateful. And also, Jacob, thank you for hosting us once again, as usual, every week and every other game. And we actually end by signing out, and just feel free to say whatever makes you comfortable. And with that, Jacob, we go out as Hala Madrid.
Hala Madrid.
Vamos, Submarino.